My name's Marcus Rodriguez, but folks around here call me Tank. And trust me, you're about to find out why. I'd been protecting this slice of Texas heaven for 15 years. The fences, the smell of morning hay, the scarred leather saddles, the horses nudging my shoulder for breakfast. This ranch became the only thing keeping me sane after my wife Elena died. I built a therapy program for veterans here, guys, with real scars, not the kind Karen screams about when her latte's too hot. This land kept us alive. Pine Valley used to be the kind of town where neighbors waved from pickups and you smelled Mabel's Diner coffee before you even parked. Then 6 months ago, Hurricane Karen blew in from Austin. Karen Whitfield, a woman who could weaponize a tape measure. She got herself elected to the Municipal Development Board and appointed herself Community Standards Coordinator. Translation: suburban dictator with a clipboard. So when she stormed onto my porch that morning, stilettos clicking like rifle shots, cheap vanilla perfume choking the air, I knew trouble had arrived wearing orange nail polish. She shoved a stack of paperwork into my chest and said, "Your property now falls under the Pine Valley Estates HOA. You owe $47,000 in retroactive fees, and you have 30 days to vacate." I stared at her over my coffee mug, confused, pissed, and honestly impressed by the audacity. "Ma'am," I said quietly, "there is no HOA out here." She smirked like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. "There is now." Her assistant looked like he wanted to melt into the gravel. The paperwork felt wrong, paper too smooth, ink too fresh. The HOA looked like it had been born 30 minutes ago at a FedEx office. I didn't yell. 20 years moving military supplies through war zones teaches you patience. Real warriors gather intel first. So I let her talk, let her rant about violations, let her heels dig trenches into my porch. When she finally drove off, tires spinning like she was escaping a robbery, I spread my grandfather's deed papers across the table. The truth hit like cold steel. She was trying to steal my ranch. And she wasn't done. 2 days later, she weaponized county code enforcement, sent inspectors, filed zoning complaints claiming my therapy program caused traffic hazards. She put orange cones at my property line like she was marking a nuclear spill. She posted carefully angled photos online, making my ranch look like a junkyard. And every time the lies hit Facebook, the same 3 letters popped up: HOA. I tried to stay calm, but truthfully, it cut deep. I started wondering if maybe I was the problem. Maybe the program caused too much traffic. Maybe the land looked rougher than I thought. Maybe I'd been so wrapped up in veterans and memories of my wife that I'd let things slip. At night, I'd sit on the porch with a cold beer looking out across the fields, telling myself, "Tank, maybe you should just sell. Walk away. End the fight before it gets ugly." For a moment, I actually believed it. Then Floyd Jenkins showed up, 73 years old, hands like leather and a spine straight as rebar. He slapped papers on my table. The exact same HOA fraud. Different amount. 42 grand for unauthorized automotive operations. An hour later, Sarah Casey arrived, sweetest widow in the county. She dropped her own papers, $38,000 for selling vegetables from her roadside stand. She'd been doing that since I was in middle school. 3 sets of papers, same formatting, same fake signatures, same 30-day threat. The pattern was clearer than a rifle shot. Karen wasn't harassing random people, she was targeting land. Big land. Valuable land. Land developers drool over. My military brain clicked into gear. I pulled up my HOA consulting database, 5 years' worth of fraud cases. Guess what wasn't in the Texas Secretary of State records? The Pine Valley Estates HOA. Guess what was in public bankruptcy filings? Karen and her husband Brett owed $340,000 to Pinnacle Development Group, the same company quietly buying up properties around town. The woman wasn't just unhinged, she was a professional land thief. We formed a small alliance, me, Floyd, and Sarah. We called ourselves the Holdouts. 3 stubborn residents who weren't selling, weren't scared, weren't backing down. That's when Karen escalated. She convinced an inspector to red tag my workshop. a building grandfathered into county code since the early 90s. She froze my bank accounts with fake debt filings. She claimed my therapy program was a militia training camp. She filed a cease and desist threatening $500 a day in fees. I felt the weight of everything: my wife's memory, my grandfather's legacy, the veterans depending on me. It crushed my chest. I started doubting again, wondering if fighting her would destroy everything instead of saving it. But the breaking point came the morning my therapy horses ended up loose on Highway 87, eyes wide with terror, cars swerving everywhere, cursing drivers, slamming brakes. My youngest veteran, Tommy Hernandez, collapsed into a full panic attack right there on the shoulder, hands shaking like he was back in Afghanistan. I ran to him, heart pounding, and as I held him steady, the truth hit me. The gate hadn't been left open. The chain had been cut. Footage from Floyd's trail cameras confirmed it. Karen had paid 3 teenagers $50 each to release my horses to shut that PTSD circus down permanently. That was it. No more hesitation. No more doubt. War. I filed charges: animal endangerment, conspiracy assault, through triggering PTSD federal disability violations. And suddenly, the whole community turned. Veterans groups demanded her arrest. The VFW threatened protests. The American Legion wrote statements. Karen panicked. She began showing up at my ranch unannounced, screaming about violations, snapping pictures of nothing, filing false police reports. Sheriff Martinez pulled me aside and said, "Tank, her story changes every damn time. Just sit tight, we're watching." Her desperation climaxed during a town council meeting. She stood in the church basement waving her arms, calling veteran PTSD victims fakers who needed to stop mooching. She pointed at Tommy, who was missing his left leg from an IED, and said he was using fake trauma for sympathy. The room went silent. Tommy stood slowly on his prosthetic and said, "Ma'am, I lost this leg saving my squad from people who thought some lives mattered less than others. You just reminded me why I fought." The whole room rose to its feet. Karen's career died right there. But we weren't done, because for 6 months long before she ever stepped onto my porch, I'd been working undercover with the Tosh, Texas Attorney General's Rural Property Fraud Task Force. My HOA consulting business, a cover. My ranch bait. I had recordings of Karen admitting she got creative with documentation. Recordings of her telling Floyd some paperwork had to be fabricated. Camera footage of bribery attempts. A 47-minute wire recording of her offering me $100,000 at Mabel's Diner to walk away from my land. So when the emergency town hall filled with residents, news crews, and officials, I stepped up to the podium with a banker's box full of evidence. I pressed play. Karen's own voice filled the basement speaker system. We had to get creative with some of the documentation. These small-town officials don't understand modern property acquisition. Her face turned white. Her attorney tried to grab the laptop. Too late. I projected Pinnacle's internal maps showing my ranch circled in red. Brett tried to slip out the side door. A Texas Ranger blocked him. And then Sheriff Martinez stepped forward. "Karen Whitfield, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, extortion, bribery, and violation of federal civil rights statutes." The handcuffs clicked. Her heels scraped the floor. She kept repeating, "This is a misunderstanding," but everyone had heard the truth in her own voice. And me, I just stood there, silent, watching the woman who tried to destroy my life get escorted out under fluorescent lights. No celebration, no victory parade, just a long exhale. The kind that feels like putting down a weight you've carried for too long. And if there's anything I learned from the fight, it's this: evil doesn't win when it's loud. It wins when good people stay quiet. So don't.